celebrating 65 years Nigeria Independence Day. It means a number of things to so many people, different things to different people. But one thing that we all believe and agree is the fact that there's something that we share in common. The situation of the country is not smiling with anybody. So on that note, I'm welcoming you once again. And we will start by introducing ourselves. No, we should know the faces that are here. Briefly your organization and where your name, your full name, and your organization. And after that, we'll go straight to the business of the day. On behalf of the Executive Director of the Resource Center for Human Rights and Civic Education, Comrade Dr. Ibrahim Sikirulai, once again welcome you. Please.
Good morning, gentlemen. I am trusting among people's daily.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Adinka from Raising Nigeria.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Montasi Mohammed, the leader of the Zabura Peace and Development Initiative.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Fingula from EO.
Good morning, all. My name is Commander Godwin Harold from Helpline Institutions of Coalition.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adebayo Alice from Helpline Institutions.
Samuel Lachman from EO.
Who will be song?
Good morning. My name is John from Cesar.
Good morning. My name is Ojima Moses, leadership.
I'm Chima from the Ruben Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. I'm from Paris.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eddie Anthony from the Power Party.
Good morning,
Good morning. I'm Sadiq Malai, the guideline.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your presence. So without wasting much of our time, I would like to recognize the presence of Madam Sarah Obiora. She's a program officer of Association of Wives of Traditional Rulers. Very welcome for this occasion. Thank you very much. So we just go straight to the point. We know the reason why we are here, and we have the #1 citizen of Christ to brief us about the state of the nation 65 years anniversary. Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning, all. Sorry, my voice is not that strong today. I'm having a cold, I can't cough. So I will try. Well, it's been a long time that we'll bring you together for us to share ideas together regarding the situation of the country. So we feel very strongly at this time that there's a need for us to address you on the state of the nation.
One last, please.
Distinguished members of the press, our respected civil society, and fellow Nigerians, happy 65th Independence Anniversary. Today we do not gather to celebrate, we gather for unity, prosperity and dignity has given to protect and serve the people have fallen silent, paralyzed by complicity or captured by power. This silence is not peace. It is abandonment. It is betrayal. The time for passive hope has passed. The time for courageous collective action is now. Democracy in retreat. Governance replaced by gamesmanship. Barely 2 years into President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, Nigeria's democratic promise is being replaced by political opportunism. Governors have been sidelined in favor of premature electioneering, with ministers and governors prioritizing campaign rallies over crisis response. This blatant violation of the Electoral Act continues unchecked, while INEC, the body constitutionally mandated to enforce electoral laws, remains disturbingly silent. Weaponizing institutions. The ordeal of Senator Natasha Akpotudwara, excluded from legislative processes despite valid court orders, exemplifies the systemic silencing of dissent, particularly against women and marginalized groups. Her case is not an anomaly, it is a warning. Opposition under siege. Security agencies have recently clamped down on the PDP and ADC secretariat, preventing them from holding lawful meetings. Meanwhile, APC governors in Edo and Benue had issued unconstitutional bans against Peter Obi, a prominent opposition figure. These actions are not governance. They are intimidation tactics that threaten Nigeria's multi-party democracy. Abuja indigenous peoples. The original inhabitants of Abuja remain politically stateless and economically dispossessed. Their ancestral lands are seized without compensation, their homes demolished, and their voices erased from national discourse. This is not just exclusion, it is erasure. Judiciary in crisis, justice barricaded. Nigerians are sounding the alarm over the deepening crisis within the judiciary. A branch once revered as the last hope of the common man. Today, that hope is increasingly fading. Widespread reports of corruption, bribery, and systemic inefficiencies have eroded public independence and political interference, turning courts into instruments of power rather than pillars of justice. Cases legal for years without resolution deny citizens timely redress and emboldening impunity. Allegations of judges accepting inducements to sway rulings have become disturbingly common. The judiciary is no longer immune to executive influence. High-profile cases involving politically exposed persons are stalled, diluted, or dismissed under questionable circumstances. The research Auditor General's report revealing 197 billion naira lost to fraudulent contracts underscores the judiciary's failure to hold corrupt actors accountable. Instead of serving as a check on abuse, the courts are increasingly seen as complicit. Justice in Nigeria is no longer blind. It is barricaded behind walls of influence, delay, and silence. State creation as distraction. Crasset again reiterates that the National Assembly's proposal to create 31 new states, raising the total from 36 to 67, is a dangerous diversion. At a time of hyperinflation, mass unemployment and insecurity, this move risks of political opportunism. Yet, one proposal deserves genuine support: the recognition of Abuja as Nigeria's 37th state. This will restore dignity, land rights, and political representation to its indigenous people, long denied their rightful place in the Federation. Economy, poverty in the midst of plenty. Nigeria's economic indicators are no longer abstract figures. They are the lived realities of hunger, despair, and broken dreams. Today, the nation grapples with inflation, as at August 2025, stand at 20.4% after rebasing, but the figure doesn't reflect current economic realities in the market. Exchange rate stood at 1,501.45 to the dollar. monetary policy rate 27%. These numbers reflect a country in economic freefall. Over 130 million Nigerians remain trapped in multidimensional poverty. Youth unemployment exceeds 40%, leaving a generation disillusioned and idle, yet corruption flourishes in high places. Recent media reports have unveiled grave allegations of financial misconduct involving the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nelson Wike and his spouse, Justice Eberechi Suzette Nelson Wike of the Court of Appeal. If substantiated, these charges, ranging from asset concealment to lavish foreign property acquisitions, could constitute one of the most egregious breaches of public trust in recent memory. 3 luxury lakeside properties in Winter Springs, Florida, valued at over $6 million, allegedly transferred to their children between 2021 and 2023. The diversion of $300 million earmarked for the Ogoni land cleanup into private ventures. In any accountable democracy, such officials will be suspended pending thorough investigation, but in Nigeria, impunity reigns. Other systemic failures include phantom projects. Recently, ICPC uncovered a hospital project paid for 5 times with nothing built. Pension contributions exceeding 20 billion naira have been siphoned into fake accounts. Debt without development. Public debt now exceeds 90 trillion naira. Yet roads, hospitals, and schools remain dilapidated. Luxury governance. While citizens are asked to sacrifice their flaunt wealth, private jets, billion naira convoys, and opulence. Taxation without relief. Fuel subsidies are gone, electricity tariffs are tripled, and new levies are being introduced monthly without infrastructure, safety nets, or accountability. Wage inequality. A senator earns over 31 million naira monthly, and a civil servant in Nigeria earns less than 70,000 naira. Yet both families shop in the same markets. This disparity is not just unjust, it is wicked and not sustainable. Questionable social investment. 330 billion naira in direct cash transfers were disbursed with no transparent breakdown. Worse, this was funded by $800 million World Bank loan. While Ethiopia built the Grand Renaissance Dam, Nigeria borrowed nearly $1 billion for handouts that vanish in weeks. Banking sector profits over people. Nigeria banking sector has become complicit in driving poverty, corruption, and other development. Key facts are that in 2023 alone, there were 14.18 trillion naira in legal claims against 7 major banks, including Access Notice, Zenith Bank, and UBA. And in 2024, there was $10.7 million in fines realized from the banking sector for violations, including anti-money laundering, failures, and foreign exchange issues. This is 6,000% increase from the previous year. Profit versus public trust. Banks in Nigeria declare record profits, not from genuine investment, but from excessive and opaque customer charges, preferential access to government funds, alleged facilitation of money laundering for politically exposed persons. A financial system that enriches the few while overreaching the many is a threat to national stability. Social breakdown, fear, division, and violence. Nigeria currently faces a deepening crisis marked by insecurity, systemic neglect of health and education, and widespread social breakdown. Urgent reforms and coordinated actions are needed to restore safety, dignity, and opportunity. Widespread violence and fear. Armed groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP continue to terrorize communities, especially in the northeast, leading to mass displacement and loss of lives. Banditry and kidnappings are rampant in states like Zamfara, Katsina, Benue, and Plateau. Highways and villages are frequently attacked, creating a climate of fear. Farmer-herder clashes over land and resources have escalated, causing significant casualty and destruction. Armed robbery and police failures are seen in the tragic death of an Arise News TV broadcaster, Sontoshukwu Christine Madwago, highlight the breakdown of law enforcement and public safety. Impact on education. Insecurity has forced the closure of hundreds of schools, especially in Zamfara, Katsina, and Niger states. Many children now live in fear or have dropped out entirely. UNICEF reports that insecurity has disrupted education for over 3 million children, with some estimates suggesting up to 5 million children affected. Healthcare sector crisis, underground and brain drain. Nigeria allocates only 4 to 6% of its annual budget to health, far below the 15% Abuja Declaration benchmark. The Japa syndrome continues to drain medical talent, with doctors leaving for better opportunities abroad. Primary healthcare facilities are neglected, with obsolete equipment and poor infrastructure, making the system unsafe for patients. Nigeria remains ill-prepared for public health emergencies, relying heavily on medical tourism due to lack of domestic capacity. Education sector, chronic neglect and inequality. Nigeria allocates less than 10% of its budget to education, far below UNESCO's recommendation of 50 to 20%. Over 20 million children are out of school today, the highest figure globally. Classrooms are overcrowded, especially in the north, with some holding up to 280 pupils in a classroom. Many schools lack qualified teachers, basic infrastructures, and learning materials. The Academic Staff Union of University ASU has issued ultimatums over unpaid salary and non-fulfilled claims. Frequent industrial actions have disrupted tertiary education, further weakening human capital development. Systemic harassment of journalists and activists. Independent journalism and activism are under siege. Investigative reporters face arbitrary arrests, threats, and surveillance. In 2024 alone, the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, documented over 70 cases of harassment and detention of media professionals in Nigeria. Newsrooms have been raided, equipment confiscated, and journalists charged with cyber stalking under the controversial Cyber Crime Act, a law increasingly used to multiple voices. One of the most glaring examples is the relentless persecution of activists and journalists, Omoyole Sowore, founder of Sahara Reporters. His process, their stories of lives disrupted, voices created. In March 2025, the Corporate Affairs Commission introduced new reporting requirements that many CSOs describe as punitive and deliberately oblique, aimed at stifling operations and discouraging advocacy. Our organization itself has faced surveillance and threats for its outspoken stance on governance failures, yet we remain undeterred. The erosion of civil space is not just an attack on organizations, it is an attack on every Nigerian's right to speak, organize, and action from silence to substance. Silence is complicity. Nigeria cannot afford to drift further into chaos. The time for principled, decisive action is now. Christ call on all stakeholders, citizens, institutions, and leaders